So, still a few days away from the global 8th anniversary, and the 8th anniversary standby mechanic is something I just want to talk about, how exactly you could achieve the standby mechanic, and things like that. There's a couple reasons why I want to make this video. First and foremost, there was a global error that was posted on their Twitter, which did make things confusing for this GT Goku and Vegeta and their standby condition, so I think it's good to make sure that's out there cleared up. And additionally, some people may be potentially confused at how I think the Z-Duo standby specifically does actually work. So I think I want to just make a video to clarify this. And then later on in a couple of days, right before the units drop, I'll make actual showcase videos on this. So this is less of a showcase, but more focused on how exactly you can utilize these standby skills and what makes them really good. So first and foremost, we have the Dragon Ball Z Duo in the first rotation, so we'll talk about them. Now, there's two ways to activate the standby skill with the Dragon Ball Z Duo. The first way is to be under 50% HP or less, and that's actually shared with the Dragon Ball GT Duo. If you get under 50% HP at the start of turn, you do actually see the ability to use the standby feature, which will be very, very helpful in many different situations here. We'll grab this here, and again, these guys are pretty good with Ki. One extra thing in order to get the standby condition, which is the second condition, which I feel like is going to be the one we'll see more commonly, is you have to perform 4 more attacks during battle. And then, as long as you do that, by the 4th turn, you can use the standby skill. Which this guy has a ton of baked-in additionals in his passive, right? Depending on the amount of Ki you hit, basically, if you hit full 24 Ki, you do 2 guaranteed additionals, which is 3 attacks that are guaranteed. And keep in mind, the attacks do not have to be super attacks. They only have to be normal attacks. So as long as you do at least 4 normal attacks, you are able to get the Dragon Ball Z Duo standby skill on turn 4, which I think is a pretty fair condition with the amount of additionals they get. Now, an issue you may run into is the fact that this unit does quite a lot of damage, right? We see them starting off at 10 mil turn 1, and then they have a bunch of additionals coming in. We'll talk about it in a bit, but you want to build this guy with crits, with a lot of crit for their standby mode, and it is unfortunate because these guys build up crit, but again, we'll talk about the actual showcase video. Hopefully this one doesn't crit and we get a 3rd attack here. Okay, yeah, see, bam. Now we get the 3rd attack here, so since we got them turn 1, we obviously will not be able to use the standby till turn 5 anyways, so we're pretty set in stone to get the standby skill. We could have been all set regardless actually, but we did not actually get the full 4 attacks in yet. So now we're gonna have the Dragon Ball GT Duo right here. Again, very similar in terms of overall conditions. In fact, I'll probably just do this. So the Dragon Ball GT Duo do not actually have to attack to get their active skill, and again, that's a confusion that I feel like was put in place by the Twitter post, because if you remember on Twitter, Global Twitter posted that they had to do 5 attacks. That's wrong. They have to receive 4 attacks during battle. So they don't actually have to attack to get the full buff up. They just have to receive 4 attacks. As long as they receive 4 attacks, you are able to get the full standby effect. So if you put them right here at the end, we're able to receive 4 attacks, which I will do just for the purposes of the showcase. Put them at the end so we could see them take the 4 attacks. And I'm going to miss getting the super attacks off, just so that we can ensure. Actually, I'll get I can't really, okay, I'll do this, right, so we can maybe get 2 supers off, but I want to make sure we get those 4 hits in. That'll be very important, so I can show you all about the standby skill. But again, they get the standby skill after receiving 4 more attacks, or from the 4th turn, or being under 50% HP, which is again shared with them and the GT, or this Dragon Ball Z Duo, I mean. So between the ones I would say is better, I would actually argue the Dragon Ball GT one is worse, right? Which is kind of said that weird, but the reason why I feel like the Dragon Ball Z Duo is better is because these guys are gonna generally do a lot of attacks, and I feel like getting 4 attacks before turn 4 might be a little more common than what the Dragon Ball GT Duo unit is going to receive 4 attacks by turn 4. The reason why is because I feel like in a lot of instances, you're going to be keeping this unit on rotation in the second slot. Maybe sometimes in the third slot if you really want to get those attacks like this. But I mean, I feel like a lot of the attacks could be in the first slot in a good majority of times, right? So because of that, you can't really put them in slot 1 where a lot of these attacks may be, and that can cause you to miss the standby skill, especially because they need to build up their damage reduction, right? So we're going to go ahead and do this here. We're going to make sure we're able to get all the attacks, and we should be cooking here. Again, right here, I could have put the GT duel in first slot, like get the force key spheres, right? Or like, see right here, the Dragon Ball GT duo. Danny was about to die. We can't put him in slot 1 because this unit has not built up any of their damage reduction. And because of that, it's going to be a little tougher for them to actually receive 4 attacks to get their standby skill. So I feel like usually with the GT Goku and Vegeta, you're going to see their standby skill a lot of the times, but like potentially when you're under 50% HP rather than receiving the 4 attacks, especially if they're in like slot 7, right? I mean, you could kind of say the same for the Dragon Ball Z duo, but I feel like their active skill, getting that off with standby skill, right? Almost the same thing. This is going to be a lot more simple, right? And straightforward to get off there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to skip to the next rotation, and then we'll play the standby skill animations, and then I'll explain kind of how to build up their finished attacks, which is the point of the standby skill. Alright, we're back here, and we are able to use both of these standby skills. Coincidentally, we're also under the 50% HP threshold, but I'm going to, I probably should heal. So what we're going to do is I'm actually going to use the Dragon Ball Z duel standby skill, and we're going to save the GT Goku and Vegeta standby skill. That way I could also show you next turn the effects that, you know, the other GT duo will be able to get their standby skill once they're under that HP threshold. So that'll be good. And I'm going to actually take advantage of the fact that we're able to use the standby skill skip right here in the GP version. Not something Global has, but in the future you'll be able to skip standby skills. On Global you cannot skip them, so we'll at least use this opportunity to break down the Dragon Ball Z dual standby skill. And let's just go ahead and get them out right here. Bam, very, very nice and easy. So the standby is kind of like an exchange-ish transformation. It's basically the same thing. Both of these standbys, when you use it, you stay in the standby mode for at most 5 turns. Now with the Dragon Ball Z duo, you have this charge counter you see right here, and you see that it's at 0. For the Dragon Ball Z duo, with each key sphere you obtain, you get 1 charge counter, so you are able to build up over time. They're also a Rainbow Orb Changer, which really does help the fact that you're able to build up the charge counter. So let's say I'll go ahead and grab these 3 orbs. You see the bar fills up by 3. We'll grab these 7 orbs with you. The bar fills up again even more. And then we'll grab these 7 orbs with you, and the bar again will fill up even more and more. You could see that I think it's a reasonable rate that it does actually charge up. Now, for the Dragon Ball Z duo, there's again the finished attack. Same thing with the GT duo, right? But both of these units, the standbys, the point of them is to get the finished attack off. There's 2 finished attacks with the Dragon Ball Z duo. There's the Spirit Bomb, which can be activated under 38 charges, or the Super Spirit Bomb, which can be activated 39 charges or above. You're able to use the Super Spirit Bomb when the Key Sphere Charger is built all the way to the max, which will be, I think, relatively common to go ahead and see, having the charge counter 39 or above, especially if you have a bunch of Rainbow Orb Changers like Bulma on the team, for example, right? So it should not really be too difficult to go ahead and get that off. We healed with Kai Goku, so that actually is kind of unfortunate for what I wanted to show, but it's fine. So we'll go ahead and we'll just keep building up the charge counter right here. We can grab all these key spheres with you, and then we are able to get the 39 charge counters right there. So we should be looking pretty good for the next turn. And then we'll use the Dragon Ball GT charge counter. The reason why I wanted to save that as well is so we could see the Spirit Bombs together. Obviously, the main aspect of these units are the Spirit Bomb, but you see the charge counter on the bottom, or the middle left right there. I'll show it one more time before we skip ahead. Is at the full 39, so we're able to use the more stronger. Actually, we can't see that there. So I'll just skip this turn and I'll tell you guys what I'm talking about here. Alright, so you can see the finish skills activated there. You can only use the finish skill the next turn after, right? So you can't like charge a certain amount of key spheres then just launch the finish skill instantly. You need to spend at least one turn in the standby mode. That works the same for any unit that actually launches a finish skill like the standby skill would, right? So we see right here the charge counter is at 41. You can do what we call overcharging, and that is allowing us to get more damage off the Spirit Bomb. So I can grab these 8 key spheres with God Goku, and it still gives me more charging. Again, you last as this unit for 5 turns. So you could realistically set up a very mega turn with like Boma, like in the next rotation you'll get her like active skill, and you can get a full key sphere field and do all kinds of shenanigans. You could do this, let the Spirit Bomb one shot here. I'll actually play this Spirit Bomb animation. I think that'll be good. I said I was going to use the GT Spirit Bomb here, but I think I will not, because I actually want to see potentially the GT Spirit Bomb go off. So we're going to go ahead and use the Super Spirit Bomb as it is. I'll play the animation here, and we'll see what kind of damage it does. If I have to go into the event again, I definitely will, so we can see the GT one. So you can see right there, this is the reason why you want to kind of go crit with the Dragon Ball Z Duo. Considering the fact that this unit actually doesn't have crit built into that kit, the standby Goku and Vegeta with their base form. So you want to have crit so the Spirit Bomb can crit ideally. But as you see, once we use the standby finish skill, you go back into the normal Super Saiyan 3 Goku and Super Saiyan 2 Vegeta. And it would be the same for once this revive is popped here. So we'll go ahead and get this here. So how the Dragon Ball GT one would work is it's basically a revive. If you use the future Gohan AGL LR, like the Gohan and Trunks unit, it's pretty much the same thing. Where they basically, well, it's similar-ish, where, you know, you stand by and you want to get the revive off, but instead of it being just a revive, it's also tied with the finish skill. So you see how there is the standby skill which shows the revive icon. Once this character actually does die, which they should die from the AGL Broly normal attacks, they actually do a finish skill, and it does do some pretty good damage since they stack attack. Now, one extra thing to note is that this unit has 80% attack support, which does directly influence very much a damage that the Super Spirit Bomb could do from the Dragon Ball Z Duo. So if you get them on rotation together, you can get the Dragon Ball Z super attack off with the 80% attack support. Then you can get the Dragon Ball GT Spirit Bomb off, and it's like basically no boss can live a turn where you're getting both of those super attacks off. It'll be very impossible. You know, I really realized I didn't turn off the skip, huh? So I guess we're gonna see the active skill skip for the Dragon Ball GT one. Not the biggest skill ever. I guess I could show you guys how the active skill skip does work. And then what I think I'll do at the end right here is I'm gonna tack on the unfinished standby skill Spirit Bomb. Vegeta, there's no way he kills with the crit here, right? I guess if Vegeta double supers and double crits, he'll kill with his actual super attacks, because this guy actually does some pretty good damage. And if you are able to super attack before with this GT Vegeta, he actually does give himself a total of 90% extra attack, which is really huge for the Spirit Bomb. Yeah, see, the skip is on right there, and as we see there, what happens is we are killed, but we revive and we come back with an actual attack against Broly. Now, I guess one last thing I want to point out with the Dragon Ball Z one as well, you could technically use both Spirit Bombs, but you can't use both Spirit Bombs for the GT Duo. The reason why is because this is tied behind a revive. You can only revive once per fight, but the Z Duo is not tied behind a mechanic that you only have to use once per fight, but you can only use one at a time. So you can't have both Dragon Ball Z units have the Spirit Bomb at the same time. You could use one standby skill of the same unit at the same, or the same type of standby skill at a time, I believe. So what'll happen is, this unit, you essentially can bring them out, and if we ever get a longer content event in the future, we could technically get to the point where we could use both Spirit Bombs potentially, which could be quite fun. But usually with how the content is right now, you're only going to see one Spirit Bomb. But I want to go ahead and get the, I don't know if it shows the actual finished skills here. I want to get the second finished skill, or the unfinished one. So we could, I just have that animation in the video so you guys could see what it looks like when you don't fully charge the Spirit Bomb. So just showing again here, I can get the standby skill because we're under 50% HP. So I'll go ahead and get that activated, bam, and then let me get the unfinished standby. So you see, it's only at 20 charges, and let's pop this right here. So yeah, that is the unfinished actives, or the unfinished standby skill animation. It does actually look pretty good on its own. I feel like most of the time you're not going to have to worry about getting that, because even if you somehow don't have the standby skill Spirit Bomb charged up, you could just wait to use it until it's charged up if you have to. Most of the time though, I do get the Spirit Bomb fully charged up for this unit by the time that we come back to them on the following turn. And this unit, it's used instantly every single time you use it, so at least 99% of the time. There's those small instances where you don't die and then you can't use it. By the way, I can't believe I didn't point this out. This is a revive. Any unit on the rotation can die for the revive to activate with this unit. It doesn't have to be this unit themselves. That's a very important clarification that I should have made earlier, and it's my bad. I'll probably still put it as a pinned comment. This unit does not have to be the character that revives again. Just letting y'all know, it could be this unit that dies in the rotation. It could be like Kai Goku. It could be God Goku without his orbs, right? But they don't have to be the one that dies. Anyways, let me know what y'all think about the standby skill mechanics. Do you think that it could have been maybe changed in some way or fashion? Do you like it? I just want to know what y'all think, and I'll catch you next time. Peace out.